So just like the physical korban was eaten by a fire on the altar, on the Mizbech in the Beis HaMikdash, and this fire was a fire that came from above. So even though it's a mitzvah to light a physical fire from below in the temple, a fire came from heaven, shaped like a lion, that ate the korbanos, so to speak, that actually consumed the physical animal that was sacrificed on the temple. As we said, everything has a mystical intention in it that teaches us spiritually in our divine service. Similarly, how it is in the divine service of the korbanos of every single Jew, like the Lubavitcher Rebbe explains in the Maimer, that the korbanos have to be included and united and consumed by a fire from above. And we'll discuss in this chapter what this fire is, an inyan of fire, which is the fire of the nefesh elokis. As we know, we have a godly soul and the animal soul. And the animal soul is the one that's being sacrificed and is being consumed by the fire of the godly soul. What is the fire of the godly soul? This corresponds to the fire that comes from above. Remember that the godly soul is really from above to below, because the godly soul is a part of godliness, which means it comes from above, and the animal soul is matter, it's material, it's physical, it's coarse. It refers to our body, which is the below, it's the lower realm. And as we sacrifice and prepare the lower realms, as they're included in our physical body, they're consumed by a fire from above, which is our godly soul, and this is our love of God, the Avas Hashem, which is in our godly soul. And this is the flames of fire, Nefesh Elokis, in our godly soul, which is a fire from above. As the Pasuk says, Rishpei Hesh Alevis Yudke, that the flames of the soul are the flames of fire, which is the flame of Yudke, of the holy name of Yudke. Because the root of the love of the Nefesh Elokis, of the godly soul, is from the fire which is above. What is the fire above? We know that the Nefesh Elokis, that our soul and the relationship between our soul as a body correspond and have its source in the higher world. And in the higher world, there's also this thing called the fire of Hashem. And that's why the love which is in the Nefesh Elokis, as it is down here below, is called the fire from above. As we said before, the godly soul in relationship to the animal soul is the relationship from above to below. That's why the love of the godly soul, as it consumes the animal soul, is like a fire coming from above and consuming the korban. By the way, what this means in Avodah is that from our love of Hashem, which comes from our godly soul, we can consume our whole physicality to where all our actions in this world are only to make Hashem a dwelling in this world, which is the whole purpose of Basi LeGani, of the Maimer. And how do we do it? That every thought, speech, and action, that every part of our world and our body is only for Hashem. It's through the love of our godly soul, which is the fire from above, that consumes our behemoth, consumes our animal. What's our animal? Our physical body. Our whole being is consumed by our love of Hashem. Now explaining in detail what we call the supernal love of the godly soul, the flame of Hashem. Here it's brought down in Sefer Yetzirah that the 10 spheres are like a flame that is bound to the gacheles. The gacheles is called the coal. As we know, anyone who barbecued knows that the coals have fire in it. But the two types of fire. There's a fire that is hidden in the coal, and then there's a fire that's revealed on the coal. And we know we have to fan the flame. Same as over here. In our love of Hashem, you have a love of Hashem that's hidden in every single Jew. It's like the flame that's inside the coal. And even though the coal looks completely cold and completely dry, opposite of fire. However, if you flame it enough, all of a sudden you're revealing the fire that was hidden inside of the coal to be revealed and to roast the meat. Same over here. Even though the fire of love of Hashem is totally hidden in a person, by flaming it through different ways, you can reveal it. On that note, anyone who barbecued also realizes that if you're flaming really, really, really hard, you run out of energy and you're not going to get a flame. If you flame consistently and slowly for a long time, you're going to get a nice big flame. Same in Avodas Hashem, Maskil Yavim. So similarly, also is in the 10 spheres. As we explained the 10 spheres, the Sefer Yetzirah says that, and when the Sefer Yetzirah introduces the 10 spheres, it says that they are like a flame that is bound to its coal. And the Rebbe Rayatz explains that this has two different aspects. It has a flame that is inside the coal and a flame that is above the coal, revealed, like we said before. And behold, the flame that is above the coal is an entity in itself. There's a real fire that you see independently. but it doesn't have an existence unto itself. It doesn't have metzius and mamashus. This is discussed in the 10 spheres. This is why the Mishnah says that someone who takes a flame on Shabbos is pater. It's not taking anything out. From this we know two different things. That the flame has a metzius unto itself, exists unto itself, but at the same time it doesn't exist independently because it's totally dependent on the coal. In fact, the flame is part of the coal. The other part is the flame that's actually hidden and concealed inside the coal, which means the flame there doesn't actually exist. This is talking about two aspects of the Sephiris. As we know, the Sephiris, and this is very important, the 10 Sephiris aren't an independent existence, God forbid, because if you said that, that's the beginning of Avodah Zarah. The 10 Sephiris are only revealing Hashem, and are the first level of revelation of Hashem and his interaction with the physical, with the world, spiritual world actually, long before there's a physical world. But just like a flame in the coal, a flame is bound to the coal, and the flame on itself doesn't have a real existence. The spheres don't have a real independent existence other than how they are revealing their source, which is called the ma'or, which is called the luminary, the source of the light. But the second level of the spheres, the second level of the looking at the spheres is like the flame as it is in the coal, and it's not even revealed. This is what's called the Chassidus, the Esed spheres, Gnuzais, the hidden spheres, which is there before the Tzimtzum. Before there is even Olam HaAtzilus, before there's the world of the spheres, you have the spheres that they're included in their source, and you can't even see them. They don't even exist independently, only because later on there's a real inyan, there's a real matter of 10 spheres. You know there must be that before there was these 10 spheres in a hidden way, which means you don't directly experience the spheres in Esed spheres Gnuzais. You only know that there must have been Esed spheres Gnuzais because afterwards you reveal them. Just like if you see a flame on top of the coal, you know that before there must have been a flame in the coal. But before that you couldn't see the flame. That's the same with the 10 spheres Gnuzais. Again, the Rebbe here is explaining to us the inyan of the 10 spheres and two aspects of the 10 spheres, and explains how these 10 spheres are similar to a flame on top of a coal. These 10 spheres and this flame is the source of the love of Nefesh Elokis in the godly soul. This is why he's explaining it over here. Only afterwards, only afterwards the 10 spheres were emanated. But even after the 10 spheres were emanated, they're still completely bound to their source, meaning to the 10 spheres of Gnuzas, to the hidden 10 spheres. Again, two aspects in the 10 spheres. And just like the flame that is on top of the coal, which is completely bound up and connected to this flame that's inside the coal. So they have these two aspects of the flame. You have a flame inside the coal, and a flame on top of the coal, and the two are connected. So you have the 10 spheres in the world of Atzilus, which are revealed spheres, and later on they bring worlds and everything else with which all the worlds were created. But the 10 spheres are connected to and bound to the hidden 10 spheres. And they're connected, one and the same, which in Kabbalah corresponds to the Esser spheres Agluyas and Esser spheres Agnuzas, which are connected together. Similarly, it is in Seder Shtalshalos that the revealed 10 spheres, even though they're connected to their source, that's again where there's a beginning of being of idolatry, of Avodah Zarah, saying the 10 spheres are. So then you would ask, why did Hashem create the world in a way that you could come to think that the spheres are a real existence? The love of the godly soul is also called the flame of Hashem. Here the whole world was created for Hashem, which means the whole reason that there's the 10 spheres is in order for the Yidden to keep Torah mitzvahs. The whole world was created for the fulfillment of Torah mitzvahs, meaning that the fact that there's 10 spheres are gnuzos and 10 spheres are gluyais, they're both corresponding to the love of Hashem that's in the Nefesh Elokis, in the godly soul. And this is what it means in Chassidus, that Hashem gives us the power to love Him, which means the power to love Hashem, which is the love of the godly soul, comes from the 10 spheres in their very source. And this is when that our love of Hashem has its source in the very, very root of the world. This is where we get it from. But remember, our love of Hashem could be totally hidden, just like a flame is hidden and concealed within the coal. But it's there. That's why the fundamental concept of Chassidus and the fundamental concepts of the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov, that every single Jew, regardless of where he is, or regardless of his keeping of Torah mitzvahs, has a ahava mesuteret. He has a concealed love for Hashem that may not be revealed. He may not be aware of it at all. But when that love is revealed, it completely transforms his body and his world and his life and everything he has to be a korban la'avaya. Korban doesn't mean sacrifice. It also means brought close. which means all his world and all his matters and all his affairs are united in the ultimate purpose of making a dwelling place for Hashem in this world, and this is accomplished from the flame that comes from above to consume the animal soul, which is the love of Hashem, which has its very source in the very source of the worlds themselves. That is Perek Gimel.